Well, as you can tell by the bare trees, I think fall is falling. We've had little samplings of winter already in Columbus, Ohio, but nothing compared to some of our Canadian butterfly friends. Well, with that in mind, just join me out for a walk. And we'll try to get off the noisy highway momentarily and get in some quiet and take a walk through some quiet Columbus neighborhoods. Is by request a repeat episode of Brother Mark, Turner Syndrome, Butterflies and Life. Amy Clark did a great homily, I don't know what to call it, but video on her channel. And of course, if I'm not going to be able to impersonate her, I think she'll shoot me later, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, I told you it was noisy. But, she talked about the value of looking at everything that's right in a butterfly. I mean, every butterfly and every friend has gifts and talents and things that they can do to excel and to thrive. I think one of my favorite butterflies is actually a gal. I think if I talk too much, I'd probably give her away, but nonetheless, could play in an orchestra. And maybe just give me in the orchestra, but still, in spite of her hearing, and she couldn't hear higher pitches, she knew when to drop off playing her part in the orchestra, and then intuitively knew when it came back in and picked up and continued playing, and that's a skill. I mean, that still blows me away. I know that one thing I quickly picked up on, though, was sometimes inherent with anybody with learning disabilities, and I just really kind of picked up on it with the Turner Syndrome butterflies. So that's kind of among many, not all, but among many, that kind of feeling of shame, feeling less than. I certainly heard more of my share of sisters beating themselves up over foibles. I mean, it broke my heart to hear sisters like, I hate myself. And it's like, why? Yeah, I've been there too. Yeah, I think that's one the feelings of shame, the feelings of feeling less than others. That's why sometimes in recovery communities, particularly adult children and alcoholics, you'll hear feeling less than. They're feeling less than others. And there's a kind of abiding sense of shame. I call it, the acronym I use for shame is sad, hopeless, agonizing, melancholy, and empty. Also part of the shame-based concept is what's called the 4 core beliefs. And if I gave proper citation of where it originally came from, I think everybody would freak out. So I'll let somebody else do their research, and we'll keep this PG. But the 4 core beliefs, and I think a lot of people with any learning disability probably suffer from, and I know I do. And my life story is full of it. And the 4 core beliefs, it essentially says, I am a bad, unworthy person. Nobody, that's core belief number 1. Core belief number 2, nobody would accept me as I am. Core belief number 3, nobody could possibly meet my needs. Core belief number 4, therefore I gotta fill it in with some destructive behavior. Is that true with all butterflies? I don't think so. I don't know. I have never seen any studies on on chemical dependency and on drugs or alcohol use among women with Turner syndrome. I'm sure there must be an occupational hazard, but I haven't heard of any studies. I'd be kind of curious to see what has. I've done a lot of reading in the area of 12-step recovery, but I've never really heard any. And then, of course, I've done more than my share of reading on Turner syndrome, but I've never really heard of a correlation. It'd be interesting. So those are the 4 core beliefs, and a lot of the stories that I hear of a lot of butterflies, particularly growing up, particularly dealing with learning disabilities and math difficulties and hearing. Mine's more auditory, as not so much as a hearing loss, but how I mishear things in reading the stuff that's not there. I could really, relate, and sometimes if I get a whole bunch of accusations that I've done ABC and 1, 2, 3, and my mom's from Des Moines, Iowa, and she wears army boots. Well, she did. I kind of like army boots, so now that you mentioned, she thought they were pretty comfortable. But you would be wrong in the Des Moines, Iowa. I'd try Upper Montclair, New Jersey, but I digress. But still, if I look at, I can really relate to a lot of stories when it comes to growing up, when it comes to learning disabilities, when it comes to feelings of feeling unworthy. And yeah, I've had my share of bullying too. And I've had the teachers scream at me and, why can't you get your math tables? I don't see what the big deal's about. I was in a cult-like prep school. I mean, look up Paper Chase or Dead Poets Society, those 2 movies, and you kind of have a flavor of what I went through. So, very hard stuff. But it left me with a feeling less than, and feeling shame. It is hard to break. But when one breaks it, when a Turner syndrome butterfly can realize, no, I'm not a worm, I'm a butterfly. I got gifts and talents, maybe I gotta work hard to get to them, but I am somebody. That alone speaks volumes, and I could really appreciate Amy's pep talk on her video this week. And I can say, yeah, go for it. And I've known a lot of great women who have actually gone for it, and some have just found some niches, and they're happy with it. And that's fantastic. But trying to say, I know there was certainly a point in my life, and I think that a lot of butterflies could probably say the same thing, that the idea that I'm a good, worthy person, that I have talents that would almost sound like learning Russian, is, as a matter of fact, I actually pulled a fast one time on a good friend in Utah, and I think this gal's really come a long way. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I made the comment, something I learned many years ago when I was in a 12-step meeting, that saying that I'm a good, worthy person is like learning Russian, Cyrillics and all. I mean, the thought, or like learning Japanese, characters and all. It's so foreign. No, I can't possibly be a good, worthy person. and trying to erase those old tapes and say, I am somebody. That speaks volumes. How did I get out of it? Well, I had to learn two things I had to learn, which was called sabotaging behavior. And I could learn those old tapes and say, I can't do this because, and I'd hear, you can't do this because. You can't do this because you're short. No. You can't do this. All these bad things are going to happen. I got it from my mom. You can't do these things because you're short. And it's like all these terrible things are going to happen. Why bother? Are those true tapes? No. How do you get out of them? Yeah, like anything else, it takes time. But that thought, I think one of the most crazy turnaround times was a time in my life that I was beating myself up. Actually, and then an AA sponsor said, okay, Mark, I know what's wrong with you. The group knows what's wrong with you. Now what's right with you? Mother. And I've had to really learn my gifts and my talents. And we all have them. We all have them. And with time, I had to work through a lot of my shame-based behavior. And say, I am somebody, and I do deserve to live life its fullest. And I would encourage any butterfly that's struggling. You got niches, you got talents, you got stuff that you're good at, and sometimes you can maybe you'll surprise yourself. I don't know. The way I've had to sabotage sabotaging behavior is I've had to learn, I am a good, worthy person. I am a good, worthy person. I mean, I've been dealt some bad hands in life, but I've really acquired some bad habits. Some of them I acquired, some of them were through no fault of my own. Some were just old tapes that kept being programmed. But then I have to say, but are those tapes true? Well, it takes time, but it can be done. Now, I'll conclude with a thought. Hold this thought for a moment. State Route 315 can be a little noisy, so we're going to hold that thought for just a couple of minutes while I get up front of the bridge, and then we'll get into Victorian Village, which is a really nice section of Columbus, just north of downtown. If you ever go up Neal Avenue, if you're ever here in Columbus, it's a really nice neighborhood with some old homes. Combination college students, mostly graduate students. It's because the law schools around here, the med schools here. So you got med students, you have professionals. So it really makes for a nice neighborhood. Okay, now I think we're sufficiently the other side of the traffic. So there is the flip of the four core beliefs. Number one, I am a good, worthy person, Yes, there's sin in my life. Yes, I've been through some of my fault, some of none, some of maybe my third grade teacher. Doesn't matter. But I've been, even though I have been dealt a bad deck of cards, it doesn't define me. And they even say in the Turner community, don't let your condition define you. So I am a good person. My higher power thinks I am. One thing that I've done is I've looked at the people who do like me. Why do they like me? And that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm making Muhammad Ali out of myself. I go as far back as I can go. Why do they like me? And I can use that for affirmations. So yes, I am a good person. There are people who like me. There are people who can meet my needs. In my case, I've been in 12-step recovery for over 30 years. I've been in recovery for several different things, and those communities, appreciate what I have to share and appreciate some of the wisdom that I've learned over the years. Yeah, Third Avenue is a little noisy, but we'll enjoy it. There are people who like me. Why do they like me? And if there's any butterfly that's down in herself, why do people like you? And it is possible to break from the isolation. It's possible to say, and the other thing to do is, how have the other butterflies who've really made a niche for themselves, what did they do? What are their secrets? I don't think they're charm. I don't think they're ancient Chinese secrets. It's certainly not Niagara fabric softener. I think they'd be happy to tell you. What do? I just listen. I just kind of give some words of encouragement to any butterfly who bangs my phone in the middle of the night. Sometimes I inject a little sense of humor. Sometimes I might offer my experience to hope that it might just help keep a butterfly, keep her wings polished. And that's what it's all about. We're all somebody, and we all have talents. And I will say, if any butterfly feels is having trouble beating herself up, I'll at least buy you a cup of coffee. I can't, that's about the best I can do, but I'll certainly listen and certainly have some words of encouragement and never ask a thing in return. So those are my thoughts, and yes, we are somebody, and we can be somebody. And then how we got there, those can be some real great stories. Not only for butterflies, but maybe for friends who are kind of watching. So those are my thoughts. As always, take what you like, leave the rest. Hit the subscribe button. And I hope it might, in some of the chats that I'm on, might generate some encouragement and some discussion of how to get from shame to grace. And that's all I got. And I'll talk to you next time.